What up, everyone? Welcome to Lions versus Jaguars week on Lions Nation Unite and the Believe podcast. I am Easy at Speakeasy Sports. That's Dose of Dion at Dose of Dion 2.0. Make sure you guys follow. We're here to preview the game as we do every single week. Dion, how you been, man?
Man, that was a beautiful intro. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. That was so much. No, because I hear that now and I'm listening to it a lot. I'm like, dang, that's way better than whatever I'm saying at the beginning. Because you really laid it out there. You let the people know where people were at and everything. Man, I'm good. I don't know, man. I'm fired up. Like, this is a 8-1 team. Last week was insane. And look, man, I thought last week was kind of the separation game, but now we got to handle business against two teams that are supposed to these next 2 weeks. But I feel like I feel as good about this team as I think I could. In some ways, I know it's not, but they kind of feel invincible a little bit after how they beat the Texans last week. It's like they're just gonna find a way to get it done.
Dude, it's unfamiliar territory as a Detroit Lions fan. That's for sure. It's weird. Like,
very weird.
Watching that game last week, even though we were down, even though things did not look great at all, like there was just still something there. It's like, yeah, we'll come back and win this. Like, it's not over yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before, it's a hope, not a belief, at least for me.
That's a good point. That's a good way to say it. You're right. Because so in the past, I was very superstitious. I don't know. Are you like that during games? Are you like, I got to sit right here. They're doing well, that kind of thing.
But it's weird. It's not like nothing in routine. It's just like a feeling like, okay, I can't.
Yeah. Like in the moment. Yeah. You're like, I'm holding my pen like this. That I get weird like that. But that hasn't really happened as much this season. And I think that's a lot to do with it because it's what you said. It used to be hope. So it's like always like, oh, something's going well. The trend's working. I got to stay to this. I mean, I had a moment of it at that Texans game because I had taken off my sweatshirt going into the second half and they were doing well. And I walked out because, shout out to H-Man. We were at that movie theater and I was like, oh, I'm putting my sweatshirt back on. I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't. And I didn't put it back on. But that was the only thing. Like to your point, like we're walking in and out. We're walking in and out, and I'm passing people on the way out. For halftime to come back in, and the overwhelming was like, man, what's going on? But it was also like, we're good, we got time, and that's how everybody kind of felt. So it was the whole vibe had changed. It was definitely not like oh man, we got to do some crazy stuff. Well. But yeah, man, I mean, like it was also the most ridiculous comeback too. I mean, to the way that we did it, like I used it like this, man. In the past, when we had seen these comebacks, where number one, you have like 4 or 5 interceptions, because we've seen that as Lions fans, where Stafford would throw the ball to the other team a ton, but he'd also have like 500 yards, and it was like, all right, it was ugly, but we kind of outscored them.
Yeah.
But this game never got to that. Like that was the big thing for me. It never turned into drag back passing. It was always we're still going to try to run the football, even though it didn't really work that well. We kind of had spots where it worked, and then we just kept putting it on our defensive hands. Yeah, we just kept playing our game. We never got into an uncomfortable spot. And I don't know if you felt like this, but it just felt like there was so much time. Like the game was not flying by at all. And it was like Houston had everything that they wanted going into that game. Like they were up 16 points. They lean on their run game typically anyway. And it just felt like that was where the game was going to start to fly. And it just felt like it went so slow in the second half. They never could find that to just put the game away. We kept taking them off the field, the turnovers, of course. So it was a very strange second half, but it was an awesome way because I don't think I've seen – this will be like maybe the only time I could say that we came back from 16 down because of the defense.
Yeah. That's the other crazy part for me too, man, is like for the first time in almost like 2 or 3 years, I found myself a little bit nervous about the run game heading into that one because you saw the Vikings put up almost 100 on us. The falling to Titans, like Tony Pollard. I didn't realize he had that many yards until after the game.
Yeah.
And then Josh Jacobs was having his way until he left that game early as well. And so, Joe Mixon heading into that one. I think he had like 4 100-yard games heading into that one since coming back off of injury. 110-yard plus games or something like that. It was something crazy. So I'm like, oh, man, we shut him down. And it's like
crazy.
I was like, man, was Aiden Hutchinson the reason for that or run defense? Like, was he a big – which I'm sure he was. I think it's the collapsing defensive ends, like those, because we talked about they have like the specific guy they're looking for a defensive end. They're bigger, they're thicker. I think that's what it is. Like they want a guy that can collapse the tackles, both on passing downs and running downs, or because we did well and Josh Prescott was back, so maybe he was a big part of that. But I was nervous going to that one, and the whole entire second half they could not run the clock out despite their lead because our run defense was just too good. Kept forcing them into passing situations, and then Carlton Davis, oh my.
Ain't no life, man. He was due for that. To the Joe Mixon point, so he averaged 1.8 yards per carry, and I saw that too. Like he had 4 games. He's had 4 of 6 games he's had 100 yards. The only 2 that he hasn't is Chicago, where he ran the ball 9 times in it against us. That's it.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. And
Chicago
I think to you,
if I'm not mistaken, right?
that sounds right. Yeah, 9 carries. Probably something went wrong there.
Yeah,
but
I think that's the game he got hurt because he missed a couple games.
That makes tons of sense. Yeah. So, we were really the only team to then do it this season. And that's who Houston, especially these last few weeks without Nico. Like, there's been, and I think that helped us because it felt like there was a focus on we're stopping the run. We're not as worried about you guys. And they had some success, but it was never anything consistent passing the football. But I think the point that you've made is exactly what it was because, I went back and watched that Green Bay game, and Aaron Jones, he had some explosive runs. But if you look at, and shout out to you, you pointed this out, Pro NFL, if you look at Aaron Jones' big runs in that game, all of his 10-plus yard runs, all of them except for one came from the defensive end or edge position, not being in the right spot, and boom, big run. The only one that wasn't was when Pat O'Connor was in the game, and he just got kind of moved off his spot. And that's happened a few times. Just a side note here, like, do you think if Broderick Martin gets healthy that we'll actually see him this season? Because we don't really have an answer for that yet, I don't think. And I think Broderick Martin, he'd be perfect on paper. I don't know what he's going to look like, but do you think that's in play?
On paper, yeah, you can make sense of it. But like, I've said it on this show before. I think we speak Campbell knees over there on the Woodward heavyweights, and like it sounds like he's still developing into what they want out of him. So I don't know, because Pat O'Connor's been surprising, especially in the pass rush a little bit there too. I'm like, whoa, who is that? Is that Pat O'Connor back there? Like, what is he? How did he get back there?
He's doing some work as a pass rusher.
He is. Shout out Pat O'Connor.
Yeah, he's made it work, man. And Pat, we know he did his thing in the preseason too. So like, I don't know that they'll do that. I just feel like it's almost to the point where, especially sometimes when he has to step in against a run, where it's like I wouldn't be mad at the Lions just kind of forcing Martin out there for 7 snaps in a game just to see what it looks like, just to do it just in one of these games. I mean, if he's back by the Indianapolis Colts game, they give him some snaps against a great O-line just to see what it looks like, and then you can make your decision from there. But yeah, no, the defensive end position, because it was that and it was the defensive ends, and Pascal was awesome in this game. James Houston, he gave up one of the big runs against Green Bay last week. It's always been a weird spot for him to be in there. But when you had with Josh Pascal back and then Levi also playing defensive end, like that whole positional group, I think, changed everything. And hopefully Zadarius Smith continues to add more to that. And I think, hearing Dan Campbell when he first spoke on Zadarius, the first thing he brought up was he'll play the run. I think they know how much it matters because everything else feels pretty strong there, interior and linebacker.
Yeah. Question, because I got called a hater for this yesterday.
Yeah, you probably were.
Yeah, probably. I get that. A lot. Sack prediction for Zadarius Smith in the second half of the season as a Detroit Lion.
Oh, so like all the games?
Yeah, just the remaining games. How many sacks do you think he gets?
Okay. Yeah, so we'd have 7 games. Dang, is it only 7 games? Man, the season's flying by. No.
It's flying
by. Yeah. No, maybe it's 8 games. Hold on. It's 8 games. My math is off. Okay. I cut him short. So I'll just take those 8 games. Man, I'd say 5. I'll give him 5.
Oh, okay, thank you. See, I was called a hater because I said 4.
You gave him 5?
Yeah.
That's
okay,
fair.
Cool. I'm just making sure I wasn't like hating because they were like.
No, I mean, it put him at like 10 on the year. That's a really good season for Zadarius.
It's a really good season, right? They were calling me a hater yesterday.
They were probably giving you the solid 10. Hey, this dude's about to go crazy.
Yeah.
I get it, man. People are missing Hutchinson, but it's like that's kind of who Smith is. He's about a 10-sack kind of guy when he's out there. But to Zadarius, here's where Zadarius could cook that number, though. You get him against a team that has a backup. Like he's going to go Anton Harrison this week, who's played solid these last few weeks. But I could see him getting one on Harrison just from Mac holding the ball and he can't really go anywhere. But he gets in one of these games where a team puts out a backup tackle. He might get like 2 or 3 in that game alone. That will be the difference for him, I think, in terms of sack number.
He also just doesn't quit. Like watching some of the sacks he's had, just even the past like 2 years. Some of them are just those motor sacks where like the quarterback repositions himself elsewhere and he's just still going after it. He's not like giving up on the play. And next thing you know, he's in the lap of Zadarius Smith.
Yeah. I mean, how? So that was what I was gonna. So I was gonna ask you about that though, because Zadarius now, I mean, his contract right now, the way he has 2 years left. They may change his deal a little bit. He has the year after this year under contract, and he has that void year. So they may restructure that. But like the initial vibe, like when I thought we made the trade, I was thinking like this is definitely a 2-year kind of thing. And
Yeah,
I don't know if you've looked at who's under have you looked at all who's under contract next season for the Lions?
for us. I mean, I have a
Yeah.
pretty good idea. I haven't like actually gone and looked, but
Let me just say it for the audience that's just listening because I think it's crazy. I brought this up before. So offensively, they'll have Goff and Hooker. They'll have Monty Gibson Vaki now.
yeah,
Receiver Jamison St. Brown, Kali Freeman. Not really including UDFAs, but I don't think there's anybody that even falls in that category anymore. Laporta, Wright, and Mitchell. So they'll have all their weapons. And offensive line will be Sewell, Graham Glasgow, Frank Ragnow, Manu, Christian Mahogany, Colby Sorstel, Taylor Decker. So they basically got their entire offensive line, depending on if they get a guy to step into guard or if they have to replace that. And now defensive line, after this move, that was the only thing missing. You have DJ Reader, you'll have Hutchinson, you'll have Pascal, Wingo, Broderick Martin, Ali McNeil, and now Zadarius Smith. So now you have your other edge potentially. And then we know linebackers good, Alex, Jack, Malcolm, Jalen. Cornerback, you'll just be without Carlton, but I think we may have to talk about that. He might have to be brought back. But Arnold, Rakestraw, Gilmore, or not Gilmore, I'd throw Meek in there. So you have your top three. Then you got your two safeties in Kirby and Branch. So the point is, like, basically your entire – you could go out and start your team next year with already who's under contract, and you basically have the exact same team coming back. So it's incredibly exciting, but the vibe wasn't immediately like I felt like from everybody like, oh, Zadarius, like what about next year with Zadarius? And for me, it was, man, I think so much of the value of adding him was what it's going to help us with next year, and those two playing alongside each other. And you said it with the effort sacks makes me think of Davenport. Like that's something that you're looking at too, right? Are you looking at it like that? Like, man, next year what he's going to add to this defensive line?
yeah. That's kind of how like I've been looking at it. That's why I like the trade thing. Like when people were saying like, "Oh, we can't afford to do this then, or we can't afford to do that." I'm like, "What are you talking?" Add this entire team. This entire team is on a contract like the next 2 years. There's
Right.
we can go and we could have done, and it sounds like Brad. No, not even sounds like Brad did call on Max. I don't know about Miles and anybody else like that, but like he tried. But like no, it's this is huge, especially for next year too, because I think that set up on defense because I don't know what's going on with Ben Johnson in the future. You know how I feel about him, but this defense and Aaron Glenn, if he ends up staying, I think this can kind of like. I mean, it saved you that game in the Texas game. 0 points in the second half. That's insane.
Unreal.
And I get that's been a trend for them too. I saw there's been like 4 games for them where that's happened, but like you still got to execute for that to happen. And we're doing it right now without Aiden Hutchinson. Imagine we add Aiden Hutchinson to that equation.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, with that much of the same exact players returning, because defensively there's really nothing changing outside of Carlton, which I mean, you expect it to just continue to pick up because now I feel like what we're seeing now from Aaron Glenn was we still know what he wants to be, and we get that, but we're now seeing. Like, it feels. I could be wrong. It just feels like there's more wrinkles that are being added. Like we know every week there's a different plan, but it feels like there's more just like little things. You're like, dang, I've never seen him do that though with the linebacker, and now he's got a sack. And Jack Campbell is like. He looks like a completely different player. He's in a spot where he's comfy all the time. He's playing so fast against the run right now. It's like they're not putting him in weird spots where he's not as comfy. What's up?
I apologize. I got too excited.
No.
His athleticism's flashing like hell. Like I saw the RAS numbers. They were all athletic score, but I don't know. It didn't really translate for me when I was watching it last year. But it's his rookie year. Now that he's like in the flow of things, like the way he's attacking these holes to close in on runs, it's like, whoa, that's a big body moving pretty freaking quick there to meet the running back.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is, man, he's playing so fast. And, to that point, though, real quick, like, Barnes will be another guy that makes a decision on. I want to ask you 2 questions, just side note questions, because I haven't asked anybody this, but I thought about it. So, first off, if he does come back, we got full participation this week. He's starting on Wednesday now again in practice. Say he comes back at some point this season. I think that there's a real chance that the Lions are looking at it like you have to show us that you can play in the slot a little bit if you're going to be extended here, because otherwise I think it's very much so on the table that someone's going to outprice the Lions to bring him back as a backup safety or the third safety. I think it's on the table. Lions are like, you got to compete with a Meek. You might have to prove that you can at least find some role in that area, because right now that's the only spot that's kind of open going forward, right? And it may not be with Rakestraw, but that's the only spot that feels like. And then there's the third safety role, but man, after what he did last season, like I could see a team just be like, bro, that's enough. We just got to get him on the field. He's a starting safety, so it's gonna be hard to pay him as a backup. Like, do you think that's something that's on their mind potentially? Because I know they talked about it before the year a little bit.
I've had to accept it. I've confessed to myself that we're probably not gonna re-sign him, just for that very reason. I think he could go elsewhere and be a starting safety. I think he proved, if in the right scheme, right in the right situation, like he can provide for you. In the back half of last season, he was tremendous as a starting safety. I think the tendonitis might bring that price down a little bit, and maybe can be affordable for us. That and just the injury history to begin with. But like, no, I think I don't think we're able to afford what he'll I guess demand on the open market, because I think that's a piece that a lot of people would
Right.
like, and I don't see him playing the nickel spot as consistent as Straw or Meek, even Emmanuel Mosley now too. Although next year we don't know what's going on with that, but it's the reality of having a good GM drafting this many good players. You know, you're going to lose
Crazy.
some.
Yeah. I mean, and it could honestly just come down to the fact that he's not on the field enough to kind of take somebody else's spot because like, bro, like he's definitely a starting worthy player beyond that when he's just on the field. Then the other side would be Carlton Davis, because for the first time, I think after this last game, it was kind of like, wait a minute, should the Lions go resign this guy? Because I think we all kind of looked at it as like, this is a stopgap piece. I always think of Rakestraw will be the guy, but like, wait a minute. I mean, he basically took that game over and brought us back to life in this last one. And Carlton's been outstanding for weeks now. The numbers are incredible for him. You know, the pass rating allowed since like week 6 is incredible. Lions posted it. It's like 6th in the NFL. And it feels like Carlton is on his pace to potentially have the best season of his career here. And he's only 20. He's not even 28 years old yet. So let's not, I mean, the guy is super young. He maybe just turned 28. Very young player.
What was that stat you just said? He's 6th in the NFL for what?
I believe he's 6th in pass rating allowed since week 6 in the NFL. And, you know, he has like the 4th highest coverage grade according to PFF in that span as well. Like he's been incredible in that time. He's on pace because, you know, in the past, like we know he was good in man, but they wouldn't always kind of live in that. And I think what he's shown with us is he's so versatile as a player, because we think of him as like one thing, at least, you know, I think that's where the buzz comes from. Like, oh, we put him here, we let him press guys, but he's showing that there's so much flexibility because his picks are coming in zone coverage. Like he's showing us like there's so much, he just plays faster than other guys. You can just see it. Like he's anticipating things, he's jumping on things, he's jumping screens, he's playing the run. As long as he stays healthy there, he's always feeling like he's getting banged up. But like there's little things with this game where it's like, oh, you can get him if you get him in these weird spots. But overall, he's such a well-rounded player. Do you think that they're going to extend him?
I hope they do. I have no clue what they're going to do, because I feel like that's another guy. Not another guy. He could demand a big contract. I feel like. I mean, one that was bigger than probably we planned on re-signing him to, or what he demand coming into the situation. But now you're part of the defense that's got the lowest passer rating. Those 2 interceptions he had last week were phenomenal. The second one was insane. I mean, he had a wide receiver butt naked in the end zone, ready to score a touchdown. Here comes Carlton Davis. Like, oh no, I'm gonna take that. Like, let me get that from you. Let me take that for you. Let me take that off your hands.
What was Stroud doing?
Re-sign him. He looks way too comfortable. He's performing, like you said, arguably the best of his career, and he was starting quarterback on a Super Bowl champion team. Probably gonna be that again this year. You know what I'm saying? But
let me ask you this. Now, this is probably not going to work out this way, but hypothetically, if it was like, hey, you can get Iffy and Barnes back, or you can bring Carlton Davis back, and you had to pick between one of the two, which one would you go for?
So I know you're a big Barnes guy, and don't look. I hope this doesn't change our relationship, but give me CD3.
Yeah, no, I think it's a. I want to hear your reasoning, but for me, it's like, dude, look what it feels like right now. You're losing something definitely against a run without Barnes, and I think it's hard for us to find. We don't have a replacement on the roster. That's one thing we're just going to have to deal with for the rest of the year. Nowaski's helped us, but he's just not the same there. But Carlton Davis, what he's done to this coverage, I mean, it's taken it to another pass breakups. Now he's taking away the football, like everything that we were kind of missing in the back end. And Terry, give him credit, but it's Carlton. Carlton is leading the way right now, while Terry's kind of on his way. I think it's hard to look at that and be like, man, Lions are best pass rating allowed, 7 touchdowns, like 13. Like when they're top in every category of pass defense. How do you move off of that guy? Because he's that good.
They're forcing everything up top to where those safeties too that we have that are amazing. That's allowing them to do what we know they always could do. And they just like there's always just like one little piece missing. It was always kind of like funky, and like I've hated to have to defend Kirby Joseph for the past 2 years. It made no sense that that had to be something that had to be done. It's like we're just not watching this kid play. Like, do you not see the situation? Like, it's a tough situation. It was a bad secondary. He had to make up for a lot of boo-boos elsewhere. Now that he has like an actual 2 starting caliber NFL cornerbacks, he's leading the league in interceptions. Brian Branch is second in the league in interceptions. Like, you got to bring him back. Absolutely got to bring him back. Trevor Nowaski, like, I liked him beforehand, and I know he was like a big special teams guy for them too. In the Sam spot, he's pretty solid. I haven't broke it down, I'm sure, like to the level that you have, but like I haven't minded at all. He's made some plays, and I just think going into next season, I know they draft off of like who's there, but like, I mean, Terrion Arnold was also kind of a need this year. You know what I'm saying? And they
right.
drafted who was there, and that happened to be a need. I think they'll fulfill that Sam spot, whether it's through free agency or in the draft. And I think as much as I love Derek Barnes, like they'll probably do just as well, if not maybe even upgrade.
I wonder which player would cost, because if you think about it, like, he may not be incredibly expensive. Like, I think as Lions fans, we value Derek Barnes, but if I think what Van Ginkel went for, like, it wasn't like he got a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And Barnes coming off an injury, right? Like, Barnes isn't even playing. So if he doesn't play again this year, he's probably making less than what Van Ginkel made. So it's very much on the table that he gets brought back at a reasonable price. We're like, how do we get him on that? And we're all thinking this is a steal, but because other teams don't, he's just not a pass rusher, right? He's not like an elite rusher, so no one's going to have that crazy value on him.
Yeah, I think you're actually right. He's going to be way more affordable than we're thinking. Because the Van Ginkel point you just made was tremendous. When Van Ginkel signed for that, I was like pissed that we didn't sign him for that. And I was like, what are you?
Right.
We didn't go get that guy like for that. It was like 10 million, 12 million, right? It wasn't nothing crazy.
Oh, it was like it was nothing. But I do wonder about Iffy though, because I know the safety usually has like veterans that just stay out there forever for some reason. Feels like there's too many. But I just wonder because Iffy feels like he's like the closest thing to like the Kyle Hamilton, where if someone was like, man, we just want someone to do everything. I could see Iffy being so unique that he stands out amongst every other safety, and he becomes the top safety on the market. I could see that.
He was so good in the second half of last year. I mean, he was like playing like an all pro. I mean, it sounds crazy to say a lot, but like I'll say pro.
He was.
We're not all pro even. Yeah, the sacks, the getting to the quarterback, the turnovers he was causing. Like he was everywhere. They did.
Dude had 7 pressures last year. Yeah, I saw that. He had 7 pressures last year, just like the handful of games that he played at the end. That's more than both of our safeties have combined right now.
So, he didn't come on until after the Chicago game. I think was his first start.
Okay,
right?
I don't remember that well. The Chicago game in Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay,
that was his first start, and then from there, because he's out from I think a hand injury or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He may have got one start at the beginning of the season, but I don't even think then because we had CJ.
Yeah, it was it when we had Tracy starting at one point, so we had to wait like a long time, and it was like, here's Iffy. It's like this guy's crazy. Okay, hey, so I mean, I guess we could touch on this game a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't ask you. I gotta get your thoughts. Like, okay, offensively, we threw 5 interceptions. You are well known as the Goff hater. No, I will say this though. You're not well known as it. I will say this though, man. It was crazy. So after it was 2 weeks ago, not this last game, the game before that, we beat Green Bay, and the chat was coming at me, man, because I was like, I don't think Goff played his best game. I thought he was okay. I thought he missed some things. He was like 14 of 18 against Green Bay. I was like, I thought that Goff would look at that and be like, I got to be better than that. That's how I took away from it. I know the weather was bad, but I just thought he missed reads, like as simple as that.
They were attacking you.
They were coming at me. They're like, and you know what someone said, man? He was like, and this is stuck with me. So shout out to you if you're listening. He was like, man, I unsubscribed from this dude because he's always like been a Goff hater. And I'm like, hold up, you ain't watching my videos, dog. But anyways, that's what I heard. So I was like, okay, but it threw me off. I think this is how it goes, though. To be honest, Easy. Honestly, like I think it's how like when a guy is playing this way and we're winning this much, it's kind of like you see with Mahomes, but. It's kind of like as a fan, like I think it sometimes the wave can go a little bit too far where it's like, okay, now we're going too far. Like he's playing well, we know what he is, but it's like, okay,
it's been that for the past 2 years, man. It's been crazy.
But then it swings, right? Like you have a 5 interception game, and now the perception is like, bro, who is this guy? Can we trust him? And it's just like the swings get a little bit too wide. That's the big thing for me there. So what was your takeaway off of last game for Goff?
Garbage, trash. What are we doing? Let's get in and hook on there right now. Now I'm playing. All right. There's just 2 of them I didn't like. One was an arm punt. Not gonna count. I get the final number is 5, right? But one was an arm punt. The one where Denico Autry got his hands on him, that he's just as easily could have been a fumble, but that's like kind of like a freak thing. I can't really on Goff for that. I gotta take that out there now. Sorry, let me write down.
Hey, you're good. Yeah,
24 minutes. Anyway, the one where Denico Autry got to him, that was like they made a play. You kind of say they made a play on that first one too, where Petrie dove and made a freak of an interception. But also, I mean, there was a guy there, so it's kind of like, well, maybe you don't make that throw. You know what I'm saying? Right. The JMO one. So just the tipped one and the JMO one are the only ones where I'm like, okay, those are mistakes. And I know Dan said maybe JMO could have ran a little higher or something like that. Maybe the route was supposed to be a little bit. I don't know. But it just felt like he was kind of just, giving some confidence in Goff because he's been balling out. I don't know. You want to like drag him down after one bad performance in the stretch he was on. So I get there was 5 interceptions in total at the end of the game, but like in the I'm a big context guy on everything. The numbers, even the good numbers are Goff. I'm big on the context. Like, yeah, there's Ben Johnson, a great offensive line, from a bunch of weapons and familiarity and cohesiveness for the past 3 years. This is awesome. There's context around those interceptions too. They weren't all on JG playing bad.
Okay. Yeah, no, and I think that's so the other one was the Laporta one. That's the one that they left out there.
Yeah, Laporta one. That one
there's a little bit of
like Laporta was there, could have made a little bit of an effort to catch it. So I can't poo-poo on JG for that, I guess. Like,
yeah.
I felt like Laporta could have got a hand up or something. I mean, it was an interception, but it's not like, what were you thinking? You know what I'm saying? The ball was
right.
The ball was in the vicinity for the receiver to make a play,
That one, it's weird. For whatever reason, though, we've thrown like 3 interceptions. They're usually on different routes, but to Laporta, kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Like, where he'll throw it to Laporta, then Laporta, for whatever reason, the route's like not there and it just gets picked off. This one felt similar. Like, he got like bumped into while he's running the route, so Goff throws it. He's not even breaking yet. This is like, that's unfortunate. Give him credit. He covered it up well. But yeah, no, I'm with, and the JMO one, like, that was the one that I didn't like because when I watched, like, I thought maybe things, I was like, well, someone's got to do something different here. Like, either Goff has to throw this back to him because he just kind of pushed it up deep, and then JMO didn't run that at all. Safety to stayed on top. But the thing that stood out was like when you watched the timing, it felt like Jameson was least on the right timing of the route. Like when Goff let it go, versus when he's like planting on the play versus when he's breaking the route. It's like, okay, the timing seems on point. So I just didn't like that one. I just felt like the placement was like, okay, I don't think this is probably great. Like maybe, like Dan said, maybe if he positioned himself a little bit, at least he could knock it down. It just didn't make a ton of sense, like, to be honest, where the ball was put. And then I don't remember what the other interception was that we didn't like there. There was another one, but I don't remember it.
Jalen Petrie.
There's 5 of them.
Someone tipped it. It was like a horizontal pass or something like that, or a screen or something like that, and someone tipped it. Yeah. And then the guy dove and caught it.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, it was kind of like there was 2 interceptions that I didn't like. 3 of them were kind of just the Hail Marys. I mean, they're always going to stick there. It is what it is. Yeah. But I think the important thing about that is when you get these stats of like the Lions won with 5 interceptions, it kind of clouds the fact that like one of them was basically doesn't matter because it's before half. So it's kind of you won with 4 interceptions, and you also, well, you gave points away. You also got 2 back on your own. So you really even things out. You got things much closer than they were. It wasn't this huge differential.
There could have been one other one that was just dropped by Derek Stingley, and that's where my guy,
the shot play,
Penny Sewell, got beat on that beautiful spin move by Danielle Hunter, and JG's whipped that thing down there, and Stingley dropped it. He can make those throws, just not they're not throws I want to make in regular. I think you and I had this conversation after the Buccaneers game. Like, stop. At least on my side of things, I was like, let's not. He's just not that type of thrower. He's an intermediate thrower. That's where his bread and money is at. The middle of the field. Yeah. That's where JG's going to eat. When you make those type of throws, and this is actually for every quarterback, not just JG. That's why Stafford throws so many interceptions, because he has the arm strength to sling that thing down there. It's like a 50-50 ball sometimes. JG, not that caliber of arm strength, in my opinion. So like, I don't want to play that too often unless it's like he's open. If there's 2 guys down there, I don't want that,
Yeah, no, I'm with you, but I do appreciate the fact that like so many of these were to Jameson, because it was like as soon as he got back in, there was like no, we're gonna bring him along slowly, like we're going at this guy, and I love it because there was even on the one that that was like kind of a fumble, kind of an interception. That one, like, it looked like he was gonna throw it to Jameson again on the play, running over the middle of the field for like 30 yards, like. So I love the fact that he was just throwing it to him. He didn't care, and I thought that one where Stingley dropped it, like, I love the setup. Because it's like, okay, Kalen Bullock, he's being way too aggressive. So I can understand, like, bro, we got to back this team up a little bit. So you just constantly take these shots. And they went at Bullock twice. And I thought Bullock played it well the second time he got the pick. But they went at Bullock twice. I think they saw that as the backup safety, like, he's a little bit aggressive. So we're just going to try to go at him a couple of times. But I mean, I'm with you. And then the big thing for me was when the game was like really on the line, bro, like it. Here's what I think is important is they don't play with any kind of seemingly concern for stats. And I think that's what Campbell is like really cementing, because when he was asked about what he's looking for Sedarius, like, I'm not going to look at the stats. I think that's important because Jared Goff never plays like he cares what the stat line is. Like, outside of like when he'll just like throw the ball, like, he throws the ball way more than anybody. It feels like this guy's going to throw it at your feet. He doesn't care. And as fans, we're like, what are we doing? Give him a chance. But I think it's just so much of like he doesn't care. So when you have the 5 interceptions, it wasn't like he was unwilling to, still push the ball when we needed it to. It didn't feel like he was playing any sort of different. If anything, he was still locked in, just letting it go. And I think that's important for this team, is that they're just nobody seems to play with stats in mind, which is why the running back rotation works, which is why J-Mo can have games like Minnesota where he had a negative like 4 yards and that was it. And it's just okay. And did you see Allen Robinson? I mean, bro, these receivers are like blocking or not even getting targets. Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson don't get targeted at all, and they're still blocking like crazy. Khalif Raymond's getting open last week, not getting targets. I think it's like a. I mean, I think that's probably the best way to describe that culture they have. Is like nobody cares what the stats are. They're all blocked in just how do we win.
No block, no rock, they say, and
that's deep.
I think that's a huge part. You want to tip of the cap to, obviously Ben Johnson, yes, but also Antoine Randall, and I think that was a tremendous hire because you got him coming over from the back in the day Steeler culture and all those like gritty teams that won multiple championships. Him and Hines Ward were just that. There's gritty blockers as well as they were good receivers too. So shout to those two guys in that one. And some veterans in the locker room too. They know like they're at this point, they're probably not chasing so many stats as they are wins and rings, and they know those extra blocks go a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true, Allen. Yeah, that's a good point because then Allen Robinson just looking for a job. Like that's where he was at that point. He was just like, "Hey, let me get on the field, dog." That's what he was looking for. That's a good point. And he's been part of a lot of losing, where he's been pretty much entire his career. They just haven't really won football games, and then we went to Rams. It wasn't that great either. So yeah, I think that makes. But the crazy thing is, like, the core of that is young. The core of that is very young players. And I just go back to when Jameson was drafted and like his response, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, he doesn't even want to be here. He doesn't want the ball from Goff. But here we are. He's gone through all this, and he doesn't seem to. I mean, I've never heard him talking about not getting the football. And it doesn't seem to matter. You don't throw him the football, it's fine. It's like it is what it is. We'll go on to the next one. I love it.
I love it too, man. It's I don't know. It's just crazy. Unfamiliar territory. Guys like want to come and play here. I was watching I was watching the St. Brown Brothers podcast, and they had Drake London on. He wanted to be a Detroit Lion. That was his favorite team. It's like it's just different time in my life. Everyone wants to come play for the Detroit Lions. Used to be the opposite. Amon-Ra didn't want to play here, but he helped change that culture.
Yeah. Shoot, man. I mean, I would have loved to have Drake London, bro. I mean, you know what I mean? Drake London was the dog. All right. We'll just tap on the injury report here for this Lions-Jags game. We'll kind of fly through this, but the things that I saw for the Jaguars, just I think worth of note here, and then you can hit on the Lions things. We know Trevor Lawrence is out for this game. Mac Jones is going to start for the second straight game. It wasn't the best against Minnesota. It started off pretty good. It just didn't end well. But the big things their left guard has been added to the injury report. Actually, their backup left guard, Hansen, Hance was playing last week in place of Ezra Cleveland, but Cleveland did return to practice. He's missed the last 2 games, so they may be getting their starting offensive line kind of back together here, which is big. I thought Hance was struggling last week, and then Josh Allen was added to the injury report. That's big, and then so was Tyson Campbell. Those 3 guys limited participation though, so they're still pointing towards playing. And also just getting Tyson Campbell back easy. Like, man, they have a secondary.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hype coming in. They added Ronald Darby, and he's been healthy, weirdly, but he's been healthy. Throw Tyson Campbell in there. They got some dudes at that cornerback position. And then the Tank Bigsby one is no participation. He went out against the Minnesota Vikings. ETN had a couple big runs, but we'll see on that one where that one goes this week. Onto the Lions side, anything that stood out?
No, obviously Sam Laporte dealing with the AC joint in his shoulder. Sounds like he might be out 2 weeks or so. Nothing long term though. Taylor Decker, I think there's a big conversation there. I don't know if you saw the comments where he said he felt like the first half of last week's game was on him, which no, not really. Like Penei was getting beat as well. Like it was just all Dan Skipper. Like Penei got beat by Danico Autry, he got beat by Neal, and like I don't know. I just don't want him to rush back because I want him for the long term. I don't want him to feel guilty because our offensive line had a poor performance and whole. I just want him to take his time, get healthy because of playoffs and everything else on the road is what matters most. And we won a game against a playoff caliber team, a first place division team last week without him. All due respect to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know what I'm saying? If you need extra time to get healthy, Taylor Decker, like this, I'm okay if it's this week. Although they do have some edge rushers there that could get scary.
Yeah, they have some good ones. Yeah, Allen and Walker. Hey, man, they got some dudes over there. No, that's a good point. Oh,
I,
hopefully he's not. They said they were going to give him the 48 hours, and then they were going to kind of make that decision. So hopefully it was close last week because it was
yeah,
limited, right? It was limited on Wednesday, so he's already practicing.
yeah, limited.
That makes me optimistic. I mean, usually, yeah, it was limited, and so was Malcolm. Usually that is like no participation on Wednesday. You're like, okay, maybe he is rushing this thing back, but limited makes me feel good.
Yeah, yeah. You probably want him for this one to keep JG healthy because as much as like it's tough to draw something up with the Jacksonville Jaguars I hate talking like this because it's the NFL, but like they're bad, dude. Like
yeah, Easy being very
disrespectful
right now.
But like the two pieces they have that could give us problems that can make it a game, it would be kind of similar to last week. Is like you said, Hines Allen, and Walker. If they can get to JG, that's the difference too. Real quick, I want to say because people in my chat were kind of going at me. They're like, "Well, Jared Goff did really well against the Vikings pressures," and like, okay, there's 4-man pressures and simulated pressures. The simulated pressures, like there's somebody like missing or somebody that lacks coverage skills to be back there covering who they're supposed to be, and JG's gonna get that ball off. You know what I'm saying? Or in a blitz or something like that. A 4-man pressure, that's different. You still have guys back in phase playing the position supposed to be playing, and you're just beating us man up. And that's a little bit different than a blitz where somebody's going to be open,
Yep. Yeah. No, that's a great point. It's got to distinguish the two because I think he was 13 of 15 when blitzed. But if you're getting pressure, that's way different than getting blitzed. as a whole different animal. Yeah, everybody's bad under pressure, man. For the most part, everybody's pretty darn bad when under pressure. Blitz can tell a way different story though, especially if you're prepared for it. That's the thing. Now, I will say, though, credit to Jacksonville in this. As bad as they are, mainly it's because of offense. Like, they've been a disaster on offense. Even Lawrence, they were a disaster until they started to run the ball a little bit for a stretch. But defensively, I mean, holding Minnesota to 12 and 3 interceptions. Minnesota's got a legit offense, man. They find a lot of answers. TJ Hawkinson was back, and he was doing some work. So it wasn't like they were really missing anything. The only thing they have is they have their backup tackle now in Robinson for Darisaw. But outside of that, they were healthy on the offense, and they put up 12. Yeah. So they're and especially how we ran the ball last week, like it definitely wasn't on Skipper. But there were times where you're like, okay, this could be better if Decker was out there because Decker, I think, has done a nice job run blocking this season. So hopefully he adds a little bit of that for us because I think we can run the ball against this team, especially against it inside, which feels a little bit messy with Hamilton and Ledbetter and the rotation. They put Jefferson in there; it's kind of a mess. Yeah. But like they do have a legit defense, especially. I don't know. Do you have the stats on their pass defense? And I'm kind of putting you on the spot right here,
man. I didn't think they were. The only place they're really – I thought their pass defense would be a lot better than, like, what they're ranking, but the only place they're kind of been efficient was their rank – pass efficiency right now, they're 32nd in the league, bottom of the league.
Not great. That's not great.
Not great.
Not great.
I thought they'd be a lot better, man, with the pass rush. Yeah, everything – their best ranking is intermediate passing. They rank 16th. But – passing versus blitz, they're 31st. Passing versus play action, they're 31st. Overall efficiency, like I said, they're 32nd. And the long ball, they're 31st. It's bad. And like to think about this defense too, just to put it in perspective and throw some shade at the same time, Chicago Bears offense has been pitiful, like horrendous. Chicago Bears lit this Jacksonville defense up over in London. That was like one of Caleb Williams' best. That was his best game on the season. So I can't draw nothing up unless just getting to JG. But with Taylor Decker back, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like it felt like with all those Darnold, it's like, bro, you got to be on time. At the very least, you just got to be on time against this team because like you're going to find the windows. But man, if you're kind of where Darnold was, where it was like a little bit in between, he's kind of seems like he's forcing. Like I got to go here with the ball, and it's like this is late. He still threw it anyway. Then you had some bad things happen. Like that's the one thing to avoid, and that's the thing with pressure. Like pressure shakes timing because now you can move in the pocket, and we got what you happened last week where he's trying to throw it and it gets somehow intercepted. So hey, man, it could happen.
I watched that game. Was that game worth watching? The score made it look. I didn't want to watch it. I'm like, oh, that score is so ugly. I don't know if I want to. Is that worth watching? Should I do that? Should I go back and watch that game?
I mean, look, I'd watch it, just to kind of see what it's going to look like, but it's not like it's enjoyable. You're not going to be like, this is cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty awful. No, I mean, it's awful to watch. If anything, it felt like the Vikings were going to kind of run away with it, and then it was just like Sam Darnold just mistake, and we're just kind of hanging in here. And then the offense for Jacksonville, it started off with some rhythm to it, like Mac Jones had a little bit of rhythm early in the game, and then it just went completely out the window. Like it was there to start. They had some. I thought they were doing a really nice job, man. Like they were making it very clear. Like their first big chunk play was ran a fake screen. It's like that's a pretty clear picture for a quarterback. I feel like you fake the screen, you throw the seam. So it was clear pictures that they were able to create for windows. But as the game rolled along, and especially when you're at a case where you have to throw the ball,
Yeah.
it just changes everything, when you have to, and we know how good Minnesota can be in those spots when they're blitzing and they have all these guys moving around. The guy in Mac just hasn't played. It's just going to become messy really fast. I thought that was the big thing. When they were on schedule early, they had a rhythm, and then quickly that kind of just fell apart for them.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not Mac Jones. I've never been a fan, even when he made the playoffs or had a Pro Bowl, whatever accolade he got that rookie season. I was like, well, I'm not a big Mac Jones guy. Let's put it to you that way.
Man, you're not a big Mac Jones guy. Mac Jones kind of a dog.
I don't think he's awful. I don't think
got a little
he's bad.
Baker in him.
I think he's I don't know. I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna say. This is sound disrespectful. He's a worse version of Jared Goff.
You can leave there.
He can run a little bit, maybe. Like you just have to have everything around him has to be. You know what I'm saying? Primo.
Mac Jones though be coming with like some like swagger that maybe he shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like feels like he's coming in there like fired up. Like I'm about to do some work. Bro, like every clip you see of Mac Jones is like he's feeling himself, and then it's a disaster. But he's
kind of cool.
He's still hype.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, it's clean. It's clean. Hey, all right, maybe. Hey, I guess the last part to this, is there any players that you're watching for in this game? Lions, Jags, anything that's kind of standing out for you? Now, real quick, I want to ask you just for people. Sam Laporta, not expecting to see him this week?
No, he'll be out.
Okay. That's unfortunate. I think that's super unfortunate, especially for this team, because I think the one thing that stood out to me is, man, their linebackers are very shaky, and Devin Lloyd has not had a good year. He was on the trade block at one point. People thought.
I thought he was going to be a guy.
I think that they're long. They feel like the Patriots backers in a lot of ways. They feel like they struggle to move, man.
A lot of athletic dudes.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Ivan Laporta is going to hurt because Hockenson was working for a reason. Okay, I think that was a good answer for this defense with so much of that zone that they'll run with so much two deep safeties. Like it felt like that was such a good answer for that defense. So Ivan Laporta is going to be big. So then I move on to who's going to win in that area. I'll say this: Tyson Campbell, if he's out there, he's gonna do well. They've had a Brown step in. He's done pretty well. Like their entire cornerback unit has done pretty well. It feels like. What are you looking for in this one? Anybody stand out for you?
For fantasy reasons, because Laporta is out, I picked up Brock Wright. So Brock Wright, listening, Ben Johnson, if you're listening, let's make this a big crazy. Brock Wright game. All right, we had.
Wait, you're playing Brock Wright?
I started Brock Wright. That's how confident I am in this Detroit Lions offense, and people will sleep on him regardless because he's not Laporta. So I feel like defense will fall asleep on him a little bit. Is that crazy? You look at me like I'm crazy.
I feel like that's not a good move. Well, if you were playing me, I don't know, because it's like the only thing you're going to get is touchdowns. I feel like you're not going to get anything out of it. But if he gives you touchdowns, I guess it's worth it.
Yeah,
I'd say Shane Zylstra.
Shane
Zylstra feels interesting this week because he's been kind of coming along a little bit. He's been playing a lot more. He's probably available in fantasy though too. You could probably scoop him up. I could be off, but he's been the guy, like when we didn't have Laporta, like he was the guy that he had a stretch there with golf where he was rolling. And if I feel like that's the spot that you could go at, I feel like, Shane Zylstra is just built to kind of come back to life this week, and he makes his presence felt a little bit. I like Zylstra this week.
All right, Cole Kmet or Zylstra? I have McBride, but he's not bye week.
I would never take a Bears player, bro. I would never. Hey, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest though. I mean, you do what you gotta do. I don't know. The Bears are such a disaster, man. It is. If it's not the Bears defense, I don't want it.
Yeah, you're right. All right. I'm gonna figure that out a little later date. I'm gonna keep Brock Wright in. I'm gonna keep him in.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Wait, who's your player? Did you have a player that you were looking for, or did I just cut you off?
So McBride's my tight end, but
you said Brock.
So I had to find somebody to fill in for this week, and I'm 5-5. So like I need this W. So
yeah, I feel like you've been cheating a little bit. I there's been a lot of people cheating in this league, to be honest. That's the reason why my season hasn't gone the way I thought it was going to
yeah,
go.
I forgot. That league.
A lot of
'Cause I'm talking about a whole different league, but he's also my tight end in that league too. You're right. Yeah, I remember beating you last week, 2 weeks ago. I mean, yeah, I'm number one in that league. No big deal.
You don't got Brock Wright in that league though. You probably don't have Cole Kmet in that league either. That'd be my assumption.
I don't.
There ain't no Cole Kmet on that.
I got tight end in that one.
Hey man, let me throw this out there too. Just keep an eye on that though, because I kind of tapped on like the interior defensive line. Just keep an eye on it because like Zeitler's had a good year. It feels very shaky there. And the one thing that stuck out early, because I haven't went through enough of Jacksonville to feel great about all these yet, but they feel so rotational, Easy, man. It feels like they're so rotational on the inside that they don't really know who they're going to. It doesn't even feel like they know who their starter is outside of Hamilton on the inside. I mean, Tyler Lacey gets snaps, and then Mason Smith, if he's banged up, I don't know, is he going to be back this week, the rookie? They feel like they have kind of just a rotation of trying to throw guys in there. I would keep an eye on that. This could be the more lean back David Montgomery this game, lean to him getting downhill in this game. That feels like it could be on the table. Then the other thing I touch on is we kind of just pointed to it all video, but I would ask you, Anton Harrison against Zadarius Smith, he's going to see that matchup. Zadarius had a just over 13% pressure rate this season.
Yeah.
So what do you expect? Do you think Zadarius is going to come up with a sack in this game? Do you think we get a big play as Zadarius? What do you expect to see?
Yeah, I can see a sack coming up in this one. I don't know if it comes on Anton. I think it's probably be one of those TE stunts. You see him rush inside. I remember when we had your guy Bass on, he was kind of telling us that like he's a third down specialist, but they'll put him on the inside sometimes and he'll get to the quarterback. If he didn't tell me that, at least I saw it on tape. And so I think Zadarius, I'll have him down for one sack. Why not? Against Mac Jones.
Like that. Hey, man, I tell you, Zadarius Smith reminds me so much of Kabinda, bro, with his eyes. That's why I love it, to be honest. He does, though. Doesn't he kind of look like on the sideline? Bro, this guy looks
crazy.
He look, well, he look a little bit scary, though, to be honest. Like, you know
who he reminds me of is Rasheed Wallace. He is, I don't know if you remember that or that's a little bit before your time.
No, that's before me. It's before me.
I know he was a bit of a youngin'. But the Detroit Pistons were like, not as good as what the Lions are right now, but they were a contender. You know what I'm saying? They were battling. They went and grabbed Rasheed Wallace and took him over the top. And they obviously ended up winning the 2004 championship. The same swagger, the same position we were in. Like we needed Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith needed us. He didn't really need us. He's good, but that's gonna take us.
Well, he did. He felt like he wanted to come here. Like this isn't his stuff. Like man,
he decided to play his former teams.
And I think, as much as it was weird in the moment, a little bit weird, but I think the Lions taking care of him like they did that first week is going to really bode well for future here and potentially changing his deal.
That game, because we were fighting, he was chomping at the bit. He wanted to play so bad. You already know. That's
what I'm saying. Him looking like a coach on the sideline, like I think this is big long term, man. He feels like he's already in, like he's here to help everybody. Yeah. And I just think you have a guy like that opposite of Hutch is amazing. That's as good as it gets. He's always been a number 2 as well, right? He's always been a number 2 pretty much wherever he's been. Preston was kind of the guy at one point there for Green Bay, and then it was Miles. He's always been a number 2. And I remember saying about like with Davenport, like when Davenport was healthy, he was arguably like he felt like the best number 2 edge you could find, right? Outside of Cam Jordan when Cam was that dude. Zadarius always been a number 2, and he has been consistently one of the better pass rushers as a number 2 in the NFL. So he'd be sounding right back into the role again here. I think it's perfect, man. I'm getting hype, man. He's gonna get a sack. He's gonna get a sack, man. Anything else, man? Anything else about maybe the Jaguars offense? Because I want to ask you this. Like, I've never been a big Gabe Davis guy, and they got Gabe Davis, but we know what Brian Thomas is doing so far this year.
Man, that guy.
So he probably gonna see some Terrion Arnold. How do you feel? Confidence level?
I'm pretty sure Terrion did very well against him when they matched up last year in college, but I'll have to go back and look. That'd be fun to do. Some LSU, Alabama tape. But
there you go.
He is the only guy that can break things open for them. But like, dude, I hate sounding this arrogant. I'm one of the guys like any given Sunday, but like Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, they're gonna take our back to the aid with any type of like Brian, like any type of Brian Thomas assignment or trouble you got. You just got 2 guys back there that could help out. So no, I'm not really pressed over it.
This the matchup that was like hype in before the season where Brian Thomas makes some ridiculous grabs, or was that somebody else? Am I remembering this?
No,
one?
Brian Thomas has been really good. He's
that was him. Remember, because the Lions were going like they were doing the joint practices. Remember, and there was like a receiver against Terrion.
Oh,
a young
Neighbors.
Guy. It was Neighbors. Okay,
yeah.
Well, at least it's not that guy. Yeah,
I'll say this: And maybe I'll look at PFF, see where he's been lining up at, because this would get interesting. But if they play Brian Thomas in the slot, then things could get interesting, because that's just like the one area of this defense I feel like is vulnerable. I won't say it's weak, but it's vulnerable.
Yeah, then the safeties will be very important, right? Whether they're switching off those routes or just having someone just sitting on parked on top of that. Yeah, that'll become. If anything in that spot too, shoot, blitz him Meek and step down Brian Branch, man. I mean, to be honest, speed him up, put Branch in that spot because Branch has been that good. Last thing to end on here, and then we can go score. But I was thinking about this, and I don't think this is crazy. Brian Branch is a Hall of Famer, right? This guy's going to the Hall of Fame.
He is our version of Troy Polamalu, and Kirby Joseph is our version of Ed Reed. I said it.
So they're both a Hall of Famer. That's what you're saying. Because I'm saying I'm not even like joking. I think Brian Branch is going to the Hall of Fame from what we've seen so far. I don't think there's any doubt.
I think he's very good. He's so good. He's that good. Like to even like just to have a player that has like he has free reign. Like anybody listening, I don't know if you guys know that. Like Brian Branch doesn't have like a particular assignment, play to play. He's kind of like allowed to do what he does. He's literally our Troy Polamalu. But then Kirby Joseph, in the same sense, he's the first player to start off his career with 14 plus interceptions since Ed Reed. So like,
okay,
we're doing pretty well. Shout out Brad Holmes.
Yo, and Kirby just keeps getting better though. Like Kirby's adding things, but the last thing is like, and we were talking about how good this defense was because I think it's clearly one of the best pass defense wherever you want to put him. PFF has some coverage grade number 3, and I know in years past it was nowhere near that.
Yeah,
but I do think the Lions having like so much of so many their roles defensively being so like clarified for kind of what everybody's going to now do. Like with Alex and Jack, you know exactly who does what, and now Branch and Kirby, where it's like we're going to have Branch have more of those assignments down and a little bit more deep for Kirby. I feel like that clarity, and also I think there's some at cornerback too. Like Terrion has a weird, unique skill set, but it's also why he's a first round pick. We're like matching up on guys like Tank Dell. He has the athleticism to actually stick with that, and I think usually those guys give big problems against man coverage, just like guarding Khalif. He has the skill set to kind of deal with that a little bit.
Yeah,
I think we have so much clarity now in the defense. That's why it feels like they're playing so fast because everybody's kind of, it almost feels like, those best defense where like, what they want to do. It's not about confusion. It's just the fact that you can't beat what they're doing. And it feels like that's what the Lions have.
Yeah. It's different scheme, but like just to what you're saying, like Richard Sherman, one of the best like defensive backs ever, but he was in a scheme that fit him and what he did well. And he had pieces around him to cover up, where he wasn't doing well. And we have like, again, that's one of the best defense of all time. So I'm not comparing that and saying it's going to be that, but just to what you're saying to articulate that way, it's like, Rich Sherman's not the most athletic guy, but in the right situation, he could be phenomenal, all pro. And so I think that's what we're seeing with this defense. Everybody's in the right spots, like where they're meant to be, like playing to their strengths.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Hey, well, man, I guess we'll go to early score predictions for this week's game.
Yeah.
You want to start? Or, I mean, you hosted. I can start. I'll throw one out there.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
right, I'm going to go. Yeah. I'm going to go 20-6. 20-6. This has like an Atlanta. When we played Atlanta last year, it kind of gives me vibes of that. Where I just don't know how the Jags score that much. Maybe we score. I feel like 20 is low for us, but I'm going to go 20-6.
Yeah, 27-13.
Okay, so you pretty much just copied my prediction and added 7 points. Yeah, that's super unique, easy. Good job.
All right. And 20. Yeah, 27-13 or 31-13. Is that better?
All right, I like that one. But it actually sounds pretty good. I like how that sounds, 31-13. Okay, cool, man. All right, wherever you're watching, Lions Nation Unite, whatever you're watching, believe. If there's I think there's a comment section. Let us know your score predictions. And that's it. That's it for the show, man. Lions are 8-1. This is separation. These next 2 weeks, this is where you build a gap. Hopefully the Vikings lose somehow to Tennessee. That's who they're playing. And then go Bears this weekend. Go Bears.
That is crazy. For as good as like we've been, this division's keeping that tight.
Bro, they just keep winning. They just keep winning, man. This is where we got to make the gap, though, because these next 2 games are super winnable before we get right into division play. So if we can stretch it out a little bit here, we'll be in a great spot.
Let's get it. All right, man. Thank you.